So let's see what other questions we have, because we do have a little bit more time. We're doing great, guys. Any thoughts or questions with what I'm saying?
One of the things that resonated with me was that awkward pause that you mentioned during the initial. I really had to check myself with kind of ignoring that and letting it go so I wouldn't jump in to answer for Lucas. I really had to retrain myself to do that.
Yeah.
And it proved to be successful because he, in the moments where he really is not comfortable, he will have no problem looking over to me and saying, you tell them, or using me as a verbal intermediary, or whispering, or maybe it might be loud enough for the person to hear. But I was taking that opportunity away from him by jumping in to fill the void of the awkward silence.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But it made me think of something too with Lucas, knowing Lucas. The first time I met Lucas, he had a lunch box that was dinosaurs. And I knew he knew his dinosaurs like there was no other. I remember knowing he liked dinosaurs, and I ordered these dinosaurs, these little characters in the office. He was just telling me the names right away because he was so proud of his knowledge. So that was a big shot role. He does great with being a big shot. So his lunchbox at CommuniCamp was dinosaurs. So I pulled him aside and said, hey, you brought your dinosaurs. I can't remember who's this one. And I really don't know the dinosaurs well. I know a couple of the basics because my kids knew them, but he knew all the dinosaurs. So he right away is like, oh, this is Tyrannosaurus Rex, and this is this one, and this is Stegosaurus. And that was what he needed to get him moving. And then I brought a counselor in who he then taught that to. And then counselor took his hand, and there they went. And there you go. And he worked with some kids on his dinosaurs. There he was, chatting up a storm pretty quickly after that for Lucas. If you know your child can achieve something, like let's say give my order. You're going out a lot during the holidays. You're home, you want to have fun, you're shopping, you go out. If you know they're verbal, but then at the time your child will just naturally be like, you do it, you say it, do it. Sometimes it's not because they can't. It's sometimes because of habit, and I just don't want to. That's where working on these games and goals for rewards and the external motivation to be where you're at on the bridge and working towards a higher stage. There's a strategy that made me I started thinking about when you were telling me, is because Lucas sometimes might be like, you tell them, you do it, and then you're doing it more because you don't want him uncomfortable. But there's something called how many times in a row. If you know he can give his order, you want to see how many times in a row he can. Because a lot of children will naturally go back to nonverbal or using you as an intermediary when they don't really need to. So how many times in a row is a visual chart to see how many times in a row we can stay using our words. Because I'm all about talking when they're ready to be talking. I just need to know that they're ready. And once they're ready, I want to keep them there. And if you have to remind them and go, hey, we've got 2 more in a row, and then we're going to get, all of a sudden they're doing it. So how many times in a row I did the high five game, or how many times in a row I did the big five, hi, bye, yes, no, and thanks, or how many times in a row I played the guess who game with my relatives and was able to, you keep them there by using external rewards, but also those how many times in a row. That's a great strategy. I love that strategy, even if I say so myself. I just do. I think it's great because it keeps them there instead of them going down when they don't necessarily need to. Some children, through sounds to words, may need to add people to their verbal club through shaping sounds into words. During the holidays, having times that they might want to add their different relatives. If they're ready for that, I absolutely add them to their club at these holiday gatherings after they've warmed up. So I just want you to know, for those that are using a sounds to words approach or a ritual sound approach, I definitely do. Tasks, task, task. It's over the task that progress is made, not on this. So bringing the things that you're bringing, the bag of props, the stickers, all of that, baking the cookies, having a roll, making the recipe, that is what distracts them from the shutdown and being overwhelmed, because they don't have to talk when they do some of that, unless they're able to read the recipe. What are you thinking?
I'm wanting to know, I'm so excited to learn some new strategies because I'm learning a lot in just the time I've been here.
Can hear our chatty kids
I can hear them yelling as they're running down the hall. It's great. And I'm wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about shaping sounds to words, because I think that's something that would help my child. And I think that's a strategy.
Yeah, I think it's a hard strategy to teach on a podcast without visuals. Okay. But I would say the best way you look at it is sounds is a transitional strategy. Mm-hmm. So stage 1, nonverbal. Stage 2 is either the verbal intermediary or sounds to words in a fun way. Like you heard these kids kind of laughing. That's a sound, but sometimes we'll blow feathers, we'll shape sounds, we'll set up the bridge. in a way where they may start with a deep breath in, a deep breath out, or blowing sounds. And that then becomes letters. And then you put the letters together like hatsa, pakwa. Then all of a sudden it's at, dog. Then what's your favorite color? Blue. So in a nutshell, it's taking shapes and sounding them into words in a very step-by-step cognitive way for kids as they're older, and in a fun, goofy, sound-like manner for younger children. And it becomes very cognitive for older children where they know exactly where they're at. Because we have a lot of what we call professional mimes that look comfortable. They don't look anxious. They're stuck against the nonverbal wall. And I'm not going to fib. Most of those kids came about because there was so much emphasis on speaking too soon that they become speech phobic. So that's a subdivision of kids with that sound.